All right. I welcome for the another session of industrial relations. We'll just see what we discussed in the previous session, and then we'll do a little bit of practice in, so that we can understand how we are going to face what type of questions we are going to face, right, in actual examination. So let's get started. Let me just open the files. All right. Just I'd like to start the discussions with a very basic question that we were discussing about industrial relations. So I just want to know what is about industrial relations and why is it it's important to understand. So I would welcome few of your inputs. Yeah, are you all there?
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, everybody. I'm asking what's your understanding on industrial relations and why it is important, why it becomes important as a management student, why we need to, know the dimensions of industrial relations.
Sir, it is very important because as we from the first day read about the Maruti Suzuki incident which happened, and also it first of all, industrial relation improve the environment and also a good space, gives a good space and fair treatment to the employees, and
Mm.
also it provides productivity in a company. Uh, and Yeah, it provides productivity in company, and also uh, and also gives less chance to uh, a violent situations or anything wrong. So it's very important because just as you said, as you gave the example of Maruti Suzuki, just for saving some amount of money they lost a whole industry, which was a very big deal. So, yes, it's a very important topic.
Right, any other? Yeah, one more response I would like to have. Thank you for your response. One more, please. Let us have this interaction session. Otherwise, we'll not be able to learn. Why is it needed? Why industrial relations? Any of example or any other response? You can use your chat box as well. Why we need to study industrial relations? I'm giving 1 minute. You can use your chat box, and I can see there are 7 people, 7 students. So I would like to have few more responses. So in the meantime, you write your opinion, your understanding about industrial relations. So in the meantime, let us just recapitulate the things that we discussed so far is about industrial disputes. So what are the once again, what are the different consequences of industrial disputes that we see generally? There are two consequences that might happen. So what are these two consequences of industrial dispute? Anybody? So what happens if the situation gets worse? So what exactly happened in case of industrial dispute? So we see generally strike and what?
Lockout.
Yes, we see strike and lockout. Right. All right. So there are different forms of strikes also we discussed. Right. Can you remember? Do you remember what are the different forms of strikes we discussed? You forgot? All right. What is the strike then basically?
Sir, not doing that work,
Hmm.
not doing their own work, or not doing it
Hmm.
properly.
Hmm. So actually, it's withdrawal of their labor. So once they withdraw their labor, right, and they deny to put their effort, they deny to work, then it is basically known as strike, right? And generally, this is an combined, or you can say, once a lot of employees come together and they voluntarily they withdraw their labor, they deny to put their effort, then strike happens. Any one labor or let's say worker, if he is denying to do the work, that is not a definition of strike, right? So you can satisfy the definition once, uh, I mean that collectively refusal, right? Once there is collectively refusal, then you can make it as a strike, right? You can say that there is a strike in this particular organization. The organization, the labor has called a strike, right? But only one labor or only one employee, if he denies, then that's not the definition of strike, right? All right, so we said that there could be economic strike. Mostly economic strike happens because if you see most of the cases strikes, the reason either they are demanding higher salary or they are demanding better benefit, might be bonus, might be some kind of better leave, better work culture, right? Work culture, we can keep it aside. So bonus or might be dearness allowances, different types of allowances. So all these things are related to money, right? So those things which are related to money or finance, so these are basically known as economic strike. And sit down strike we discussed repeatedly. That's they'll come to the organization, but they'll not do their work, right? They'll completely sit down, right? So there's a sit down strike. And slow down strike again, they'll work, but the pace of their work would be very, very slow, right? Intentionally, they will, slow down their work, right? So that's sit down strike. Wildcat strike, sympathetic strike, also we discussed. Then there is boycott. So these are all picketing. These are all, consequences of industrial dispute. There could be lockout as well from the employer's point of view, right? Once employers they uh, fail to negotiate or they suffer from huge losses. So they come up with their weapon, that is lockout, right? Lockout is what is lockout? It's temporary shutdown, shutting down the workplace, right? Or suspension of work, right? So that's the lockdown. So it is basically temporary in nature. If it is permanent, then it is known as closure. Closure is something different. Closure uh, is basically permanently closing down the business, right? There is no alternate way of revival, or it's a long process. For example, if you are suffering from huge loss, right, then you might decide to close your company. So that's a closure. So there is a very minute, clear cut, not minute, clear cut difference between lockout and closure. So closure is basically permanent in nature, and lockout is temporary in nature, right? So lockout basically to create pressure on the employees, right? Closure, uh, basically it happens for financial, things. So if a company is, experiencing huge loss, right? They're not being able to sell their product. Uh, so in that case, probably they're not being able to pay the salary. So then they decide to close the company, right? Yes, you might argue sometimes it also happens if there is repeated disturbance or repeated disputes in the company, that also might lead to closure. So some industrial disputes also might be responsible for closure, right? If repeatedly disturbance happens, strike, lockout, if it is happening, news, right? Then you might get irritated and you might close your business and you might shift your attention to other business, right? So that also might be possible. Okay. Now we discuss this thing, which is very important. That is machinery for handling industrial disputes, right? Uh, so in case of machinery for handling industrial dispute, we discussed two main dimension. One is preventive machinery and another one is settlement machinery. So preventive machinery to prevent before the dispute happens, you're doing something so that you can prevent these unwanted, uh, you know, things to happen, right? So how you can prevent? First thing first, if in your family, if everybody is happy, then there would be less probability of dispute. So how can you make everybody satisfied? So first and foremost thing could be, which is very safe to do, is involve everybody in your decision making system. Once you involve everybody in the decision making system, the parties, they will also think that I'm also responsible for this, what is happening, because I was also there in that decision making system, right? So that's the concept of workers' participation in management concept. In industrial relations concept, that's the concept of workers' participation in management. So okay, we can, this also we discussed in detail, how you can ensure workers' participation in management and all. So would you like to highlight those, instruments? How you can? One was suggestion scheme, right?
Sir, what it yeah. Sir, suggestion box should be
Mm,
applied, and also one was I guess some kind of games or something should be played
mm,
for mutual interest and interaction.
mm. Exactly. Any other instrument? Can you remember? So we might constitute a committee as well, right? We might form a committee where management employees, management representative, right? Uh, or else workers representative would be there. So that's work council or committee, right? For example, in your school, in your university, also such kind of committees are there. That committees consist of professors or teachers, some of the students, few parents, right? Few government, for example, might be some bureaucrats, government bureaucrats also might be there. So all the parties would be there, right? So what happens? They take decisions, they can give suggestions, they can try to maintain the harmonious relations, what's going on in the college or university or school, whatever it may be. Right. So there's a workers' committee. Similarly, Joint Management Council is also quite similar in nature. Only the thing is that again, it's an advisory committee and equal representation. It's not like that only one. If there are, let's say, 6 members, so 3 members would be there from management side, or 3 members would be there from employee side. So that's Joint Management Council. So equal representation would be there. Board representation is the one of the highest form we discussed. So you are sending your worker, right, or the employee, you are giving him a chance, or let's say he's also a worker. So you have given them opportunity to represent the company's board. So they have become board of the board members. So it's one of the highest form of participation, right? Then workers' complete ownership also might be there. That also we discussed. Uh, but again, it's something not practiced in India or any other. It was very popular in Yugoslavia. So, but co-partnership is quite possible. So what you can do, you can distribute your share. You can give them the opportunity to purchase your share. Right. Once you issue share, then you can give your employees opportunity so that they can purchase the share. Some companies even give loan to the employees, right, so that they can purchase the share, company share. There's nothing but a kind of to instill a sense of co-partnership. So once they purchase share, even a one share, let's say the share price is of 100 rupees or 200 rupees. So even if you purchase, let's say 20 shares, right? So then also you become a kind of owner of this company. You're a part of this company, right? So you have this sense of belongingness. Whatever is happening, that is, if anything goes wrong, that means this should be something which will hurt me as well. So that's a co-partnership, right? Level of participation we discussed. You can simply share the information. So that's a basic, very basic level of participation. You're just sharing the information, nothing else. But consultative participation is or let's say decisive participation. You are taking decision, you are consulting with your employees, you are taking decisions from them. So that's the higher level of participation, higher kind of participation you are ensuring, right? So then we discussed why it is not successful in India, and we discussed there is always a difference. Mostly in developing, economies, this is not successful. Why? The reason being, uh, still there is a kind of mindset is going on, that is master-servant relationship. Right, the capitalist society, they still consider themselves as master, and the working class, they treat working class as servant. Still a kind of imbalance is there in the society. So till the time this imbalance would be there in the society, it is very difficult to come out from this traditional mindset, right? So if you have this pre-built mindset, then it's difficult to implement, right? Secondly is illiteracy among the workers, some unskilled workers, those who are doing, let's say, manual job. They might be illiterate. They might not have completed the basic education due to some family condition or society condition. So you cannot expect any kind of suggestions from them, right? They are not in a position to provide suggestion. But if you ask my experience, I have seen such workers, those who have been working, let's say, 20 years in the same position, same situation, same condition, same area. They have not completed the basic education. They're doing some manual job. And believe me, they have greater understanding of the situation than a manager as well. Because 20 years experience cannot be, you can't compete whatever degree you might have, right? You can't compete with a man who is having 20 years of experience in the same field where he have been working for this many years. Each and every minute details he knows. He knows what happens, when happens. Like if he is operating a machine, let's say, he knows everything, right? It's like the way a mother knows a child. So the same situation, if a person is operating, let's say, a machine for 10 years, 20 years, you can't compete with a person, right? He might not have basic education, but still. So better you take decisions, better you take suggestions from such kind of workers who have experience, might not be that much literate, might not be that much educated, but still experience matters a lot. But if you have this pre-built mindset, what they will know, they are illiterate guys, right? They do not have basic education, so what to talk to them? So if you have this ego, then you can never ever learn. So you have to come out from this ego, from this pre conceived perception, then you can do better. All right. So then next we discussed about grievance, and what is grievance is it's basically a kind of dissatisfaction, discontent, right, arising out of the factors. You might think that something unfair is happening with you. That might be true, might not be true, right? If sometimes what happens, we perceive the things. Probably nobody is, nobody. Uh, my presence does not matter to anybody, right? Everybody is looking at me in a different, way. So sometimes we tend to think this, which may not be really, practically correct. For example, if somebody did not pay attention, he might have certain n number of things to do. That is why probably he did not pay attention to you. But you are thinking that it probably you are not important. That's why he did not give attention. So sometimes we feel if it is a felt dissatisfaction, then nothing can be done, right? Then you might need a kind of psychological, some kind of emotional support, right? You can share the things if it is felt, but if it is really exist, if it is observed by other employees as well, for example, if management is biased, so if it is happening with you, might be it's a felt. You are just feeling it's a felt. But if it is happening with other persons as well, let's say three, four more persons, then there is really a actual problem that exists. So if this kind of situation exists, then it would backfire you, right? So it's better that you solve the situation and you have something so that such kind of situation does not arise. So grievance basically arises due to violation of the company's laws, labor regulations, management, uh, poor approach towards working condition, right? So that there might be a number of factors for grievance, right? Sometimes we discuss these as well. If you act against natural rule of justice, for example, if you have given punishment to somebody without giving him scope to explain his side, which is a violation of natural rule of justice. So if you are giving punishment, all right, as an employer, you have this right to punish. If somebody has done something wrong, you have right to punish, right? There is no uh, I mean to say wrong in it. You can punish. But the problem is, have you given the judgment, right? Or have you given the punishment without explaining? without giving him the opportunity to explain his point of view, then you have violated the natural rule of justice, right? That means here uh, you're violating the rule because it is already said in the natural rule of justice that both the sides should be heard, both the parties should be given equal opportunity to present their scenario, to take their side, right? Then you can decide based on the situations and all. Questioning, cross questioning you can do, right? Sometimes leave policy, wage rate related problem, overtime related problem. If you're making somebody work hard, right, you're not paying overtime. Generally, as per the Factories Act 1948, what is there? If you are means if you have this provision of overtime, if somebody is doing overtime, so they should get the rate of wage at the double rate. For example, if per hour, if somebody is getting 100 rupees, right? Let's for an example. So once working time is over, let's say beyond 8 hours or 10 hours. So if he's making his working his 11th hour, for an example, then for each hour he will get twice wage. So that's the rule of overtime as per Factories Act 1948. But sometimes what happens, you forget about giving wage at the double, rate. Company does not pay even. There are certain companies who will make you work beyond the working hour, and probably they are not, giving the overtime. See, for 1 and 2 days, 3 days, that is okay. We understand. But for each and every day, if company is forcing you to work without giving the necessary wage, then it is you have valid point to be dissatisfied, right? All right. So sometimes what happens, there might be disparity even. This is what you know. That is why I'm not explaining. Role conflict. Probably some task has been assigned to you, or let's say you are acting as a marketing manager, right? But what you are observing that probably your employees are not taking your permission, or you are not. They are not even discussing, right? They are saying that we have taken the permission from XYZ, manager. So that is simply the case of role conflict, right? So if you're not clear what you're exactly supposed to be doing, so how you're going to do the job, right? You're doing a work, your manager is saying who has asked you to do the work, right? Have you taken the permission or not? Right? So and so forth. So if this is something which is not, uh, I mean to say that, what do you say, like the role is not clear, if it happens, then role conflict will come. Or let's say you're not good at managing finance and all, right? I have put it in finance department, accounts department, right? So what will happen? Your skill and the job responsibility, there is a great disparity. There is no match, right? You don't like finance, or let's say these things, but I have put you in finance department or the accounts department, where your primary responsibility is to manage the finances. So you'll not like the job, right? So you'll get dissatisfied. So these are basic, grievances, sources of grievance, basically. So now see why I'm discussing these things. If you become a manager, most of the things are, I mean to say, can be addressed at the very root level. but the company, they fail to understand the intensity. For example, poor safety and bad physical condition, right? Sometimes unavailability of tools and proper machinery, right? So this is what we have observed. For example, if you ask me to teach in the class, right, and let's say if the projector does not work or the remote of the projector does not work, and if I call this technical guy to, let's say, fix the issue, and there is nobody to address your thing, so what will happen? So students are probably ready to for the lecture session, you are also ready to the lecture session, but you need this project, right? You need tools to be properly working in a properly working condition, but nobody is listening to you, or the if the tool is not available, then what will happen? You'll be dissatisfied, right? All right, so poor relations, autocratic leadership, we all know. Poor relation among the seniors, poor relationship among the teammates, conflict with the peer and colleagues. So these are basic things, basic sources of grievance processing, right? So how to, now the next question that comes, how to manage? So how to uh, overcome this problem of grievance? Because grievance will definitely be there, right? There would not be any thing where grievance would absent, conflict would absent. So these are absolutely natural that grievance would be there, right? Because on day-to-day basis, you need to do n number of things in an organization. So it's practically impossible to satisfy all and every student or every employee. Just for an example, if for your benefit, if I ask you right now that you'll have to submit an assignment within 1 hour, right? So if you have work, certain other important work, you might get it irritated, right? But I can't. I do not have any other option. If I need your improvement, I want your improvement, so I'll have to make you do hustle. I'll have to make you do assignments, right? You'll have to appear for exam. So these are some mandatory things. So for these, if you just get aggrieved, management has nothing to do here. But what you can do is you can have certain instruments ready. For example, you can have open door policy. What is open door policy? So open door policy is basically you keep the door open for an discussion. So when an employee gets aggrieved, right? For example, he can, let's say, directly approach to the higher management or the, let's say, CEO, right, of the organization, or the top executives of the organization. He can go and he can discuss the problem, right? Why he is aggrieved. So if you listen to the employee, then definitely the employee will be satisfied that at least somebody listened to my thing, right? So there's the first level of satisfaction. Then if you try to solve the issue, then definitely the employee will be much happier. But there is a problem. What is the problem here? Tell me, what is the problem in open door policy? You can say.
Sir, the hello.
Yes, yes, I can hear you.
Sorry, sir. I guess I have some network issue. Yeah. So, sir, in this, any kind of autocracy won't work. When sometimes the seniors are very demoralizing or not appropriate or not hearing some very important uh, needs. So, if they talk to the executive directly, this might really give help them and also improve their some important conditions even.
No, that is okay. But even if you have developed a very, let's say, good culture of open door policy, let's say you have this open door policy in your organization and you have instructed all your top level executive that uh, any aggrieved employee can directly approach to them. For example, you can directly approach to the top boss of the company, right? So you have implemented it. That is good. But there is one problem. Even if you want, then what would be the problem? It might be chaotic, right? Why? Because if every time, employees start coming and going without any hesitation to the top level executive, then what would be the problem? First problem would be overlooking the not giving importance to the, let's say, the immediate boss. For example, if CEO is there, right? So there are a lot of hierarchies there, right? Like this. So if this employee, by overlooking him, if he goes directly to CEO, then what would be the problem? They are not, let's say here there is a boss, here there is another boss, here there is another boss, here there is another boss, right? They're not knowing about the problem, what exactly has happened with the employee, right? So what will happen? They will be completely, unaware of the problem, right? And the employee has gone directly to the CEO. So might be the problem could have been solved here, or the problem could have been solved in this hierarchy, or the problem could have been solved in that hierarchy. If not this, then the problem could have gone to the upper level, higher level authority. Let's say that if the problem gets solved immediately, like for an example, let's just assume you are my teammates, right? You are working under my team and I'm the team leader. You have faced any problem. So without informing me, if you go to the top level of the university, then what is the problem? Probably I could have solved the issue, but unnecessary one problem has gone to the upper level management. Unnecessarily, right? So that's the problem number one. Problem number two, this open door policy is uh, practical when the organization is very small, right? For example, in there are, let's say only 20 employees are working or 30 employees are working. So they can reach to the top level boss anytime. The top level boss is sitting at the same location, so they can just knock the door and they can just go to the, person, meet the person. But let's see if it is a large company, MNC, and the boss is sitting there in, let's say in UK or in USA. Is it possible to go to UK for a small problem? Is it
No,
possible?
sir.
It's not possible, right? So that is problem number two. Problem number three, even if it is possible, let's say, in case of small organization, if all the, let's say you have a 50, member team of, employee of 50, and there is a boss sitting here. So under this boss, there are managers, manager one and manager two. So under two manager, there are, let's say, every manager, there are two supervisors. So supervisor one, supervisor two, here also supervisor three, and supervisor four. And let's say under every supervisor, it's a total 40 strength, 40 employees are working, let's say. So under every supervisor, there are 10 employees working. So under supervisor one, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, right, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 employees are working or 10 workers are working, let's say. So under S2 also supervisor 2, 10 workers are working. Under S3, 10 workers are working. Under S4, 10 workers are working. Now this person, let's say worker 2, this is worker 2. Worker 2 has certain issue, right? So he could go to supervisor for the problem. If supervisor fails, then supervisor, he could go, he could have gone for, manager, his manager. Then the top level CEO probably would be. But if let's say every 40 employee, if they start going for the problem with the CEO, so CEO would break his head. So why I have kept managers and supervisors if everybody is coming to me directly, right? So if you're the CEO, if 10 employees come, workers come every now and then for their problem, you'll start breaking your head. So open door policy is good to some extent, but sometimes it might not be practical, feasible. So what's the solution? Again, the question. If open door policy for smaller organization, that's okay, perfect. Smaller organization, that's perfect. But if it is a large organization, then what? What's the alternate solution then? Where the employee will go with their grievance, with their complaint, with their dissatisfaction. Then it is known as step ladder policy, right? Step ladder policy, the policy that we discussed right now, right? What is step ladder policy? Step ladder policy is basically, let's say you are in, this is you. This is you. So you are an aggrieved employee. You have certain issues with related to work. If you have issues with your family, then that is family related issue. Your employer does not have anything to do here. But if you have work related issue, then this aggrieved employee, what he can do, he can just go to his departmental representative. Who is the departmental representative? Might be your immediate supervisor, your immediate boss, whom you are reporting to daily basis, right? So you might go for the departmental representative. The departmental representative will have 40 hours in his hand. Sorry, 48 hours. That means 2 days, let's say. 2 days. So within 2 days, if he fails to address your dissatisfaction, then the case might go to HOD, that is head of the department. So you, along with your supervisor, might be it is such problem is out of supervisor's control. So the supervisors will go to you and along with supervisor will go to HOD. That's for an example. Now HOD understood, listen to your problem, what has happened, why it could not be solved at his level, supervisor level, so and so forth. The supervisor also asked, explained. So I needed these, which I do not have. I needed this authority, which I do not have. I need your, support for this. So HOD listened. Now HOD might be having 3 days in his hand. So HOD within 3 days, he'll try to, let's say, address the problem. Now, if it is addressed, then it is fine. The case stopped here. Otherwise, if HOD failed to address, then what will happen? It will go to grievance committee. You remember we talked about some committee to be formed and all. So such kind of grievance committee. So this kind of grievance committee you will find in different organizations. So that now this issue has gone to the committee. So the committee might consist of some member. No single person is there. Might be 4 to 6 members are there. Might be some workers representative also there, employees representative are there. So they will jointly try to address the same thing. Understood? Now, if it is addressed here, if you are satisfied, that's fine. Otherwise, if the grievance committee also fails to address the query or the issue, or let's say whatever solution has been given, you are not satisfied, the issue might within 7 days, if they fail to, let's say, address, so it might go to chief executive, right? Chief executive. So it might go to the top level, like chief executive. It has gone. Now your case is here, right? So you can imagine this situation in a reverse way also. So you are going actually up, right? The chief executive. So now the chief executive has tried to understand your, problem. He also will query why these things could not be solved at this level. Right? What is your problem? Why you are not satisfied with the solution? So on and so forth. Now the chief executive will have, let's say, 7 days in his hand to address the query. Right. Now it is not satisfied, or if he fails to think, now it will go to voluntary arbitration. So voluntary arbitration is a mechanism, uh, and you can say the way in our country we have top court, right? Let's say Supreme Court we have. So once a case goes to Supreme Court, so whatever verdict comes, that is full and final. You cannot challenge, right? So similarly, in organization, once the case comes, your complaint comes here in the voluntary arbitration. So whatever they will take the decision, that would be full and final. Now you might have question, if it goes against me, then what will happen? Then also it is final, right? You do not have any other, let's say, option in your hand, because if you are fixated on a particular thing, then it will be a perpetual process. It will go up and up and up and up. So it's practically impossible to address a query, right, for a perpetual, or let's say for long and long time. It's practically impossible. So there should be a certain boundary, right? So for this case, it is voluntary arbitration. So whatever verdict or whatever decision should be given by this mechanism, that would be full and final, right? That would be final. You will have to accept this. You do not have any other option. It might go in favor of you. It might go against you. Whatever happens, you'll have to accept it. So this solution or this mechanism is basically known as step ladder policy. You can see it works as a ladder, basically. So it's known as step ladder policy, right? So you might be having issue with your colleague who is working with you. You might be issue with your employer or the boss, whosoever might be. So once you are aggrieved, you can start this thing. So what happens? You might think that there's a long time, long process involved over here. Yes, that's true. But you are looking the whole picture. You're looking at the whole picture, right? So 2 days plus 3 days plus 7 days, right? So 12 days, then again 7 days, 19 days. There's a close to 1 month for a particular, situation, right? Let's say you're waiting for 1 month. You are thinking the whole picture. That's why you are thinking like that. But it might so happen that your problem, you have a problem over here, your problem is solved here only with your immediate supervisor or the boss or the reporting authority. So within 2 days, the problem is solved. That is also there is a possibility. So don't think that it's a ineffective procedure in time in the context of time, right? It might so happen that within 2 days, your problem or you can address the issue. There is no need to proceed ahead. You're satisfied with the supervisor's, let's say, decision or the solution. Another thing would be not, you can see not every thing is coming to the higher authority. So once you have step ladder, not every case is coming to the higher authority over here. Right. So the higher authority will have sufficient time to put their mind in business growth, not in solving your solution. Right. So the management is putting you in important or treating you as an important asset as well. Also, the management can put their brain in business growth. So that's the grievance procedure. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now just take a second and rewind the things that we discussed. All right. So if this is clear, I hope I am audible.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if this is clear, let me discuss, the other uh, instrument. If you just remember, for your reference, yes. So we discussed this thing: workers' participation in management, collective bargaining, grievance procedure is one of the preventive machinery. See, you are still trying to prevent. That's why this is preventive machinery, right? Workers' participation in management, you're trying to prevent. Collective bargaining, you're trying to negotiate what do you want and all. You're trying to bargain. Tripartite bodies also quite similar to the, you're forming a body where representation from three parties would be there, right? Workers, employees, means employees, employers, and the government representatives will be their tripartite bodies. So these we'll discuss in detail. These has got implementations. And grievance procedure right now we discussed, right? Grievance procedure. Now we will be discussing about code of discipline and standing order. So these are all still preventive machineries, right? These are not actually settlement machinery. So you're trying to do all these things so that you can prevent industrial dispute. So what is code of discipline and what is standing order? Let me just discuss. See, once you join any, you remember when you join your school or college, right? Uh, Predominantly, let's say school. So they said few things, do's and don'ts. You remember? You can't do this, you can't do that, so and so forth. Right. If you do this, you might have to face some consequences. Right. So what is this basically? These are some discipline related rules and regulations they have formed because they have observed that most of the situations or most of the cases are coming from this, right? So in that case, they might come up with some kind of do's and don'ts, right? So similarly in organization, there could be some code of discipline so that both of you agree. If both of you agree on this thing, there would be minimal chance of industrial dispute, right? So these are basically a kind of framework for maintaining harmonious relations, right? What is the framework? For example, so first thing first, let us try to understand how does code of discipline serve the purpose of uh, to maintain industrial relations or industrial peace so that we do not see industrial dispute. So how is it? Because this code of discipline basically they try to maintain peace and order because they give it a framework. They try to promote the constructive criticism, right? Criticism can be there, but that should be constructive in nature. They can, let's say, avoid work stoppage and facilitate dispute settlement as well, right? They prevent litigation and promote the free growth of trade unions, and they eliminate coercion. Now, how is it possible? Let's say. So there would be certain principle. So let's say first principle or first code of discipline you have in your company, that is no strike or lockout without prior notice. This is one of the code that you might have in your organization. No strike or lockout without prior notice. Now, most of the cases, what happens? This is also there in the act as well. So legal things are there, but still, if let's say, if today your workers, let's say you are running a business, your worker suddenly go for a strike, then what will happen? Tell me what will happen if your workers suddenly go for a strike. So you do not have any backup. You'll be under tremendous, problematic situation, right? I'm audible, I hope.
Yes, sir, audible.
Okay, okay. So if you, without any notice, without any, suddenly if you go for a strike, or your employer, let's say, one, you are all working, you're coming to the factory, and you got to know that your employer has declared a lockout, let's say for 3 days or 4 days, without any notice. Then what will happen? So there's a problematic situation for the workers. So neither the worker nor the employer would declare strike or lockout without prior notice. So that's the first rule, first code, right? So you might have given a notice, let's say, all right, given the situation, the trade union might say, given the situation, after 14 days, on this date, let's say on 20th of Jan, for an example, just 20th of Jan, we'll start our strike. So you are giving 14 days time. Before 14 days, you are putting a notice, you are informing the higher authority, we will go for a strike. So what will happen? The authority also will take, will have time to prepare. In the meantime, who knows, the authority also might accept your demand. You don't have to go for a strike even. That also might be possible, right? So this is one of the code, right? Second thing, no unilateral action on industrial matter. The action should not be unilateral. For example, it should not be one directional, right? There should not be any go slow tactics, because go slow tactics is very dangerous. It's very difficult to understand, right? It's very difficult to understand. So there should not be slow down tactics or go slow tactics and deliberate damage to the property of the organization. You should not deliberately damage the computers, the, let's say, the property of the organizations. You should not deliberately damage. Unnecessarily, you should not damage. You have problem, you talk. You have problem, you go for a strike. You put notice, you go for a strike. That's fine. But why to, let's say, destroy the property? That's not acceptable, right? Nobody is stopping you to go for a strike. Even there is legal, things that you can go for a strike. Law will support you. If you have demand, you can go for a strike by giving prior notice. Without notice, if you are going for a strike, that's an illegal strike, right? So there should not be no go slow technique. There should not be any damage to the property, right? There should
Sir,
not. Yes,
sir, for going for a strike, for that even we need to inform the company first.
exactly, exactly, exactly. Because if you go for a strike abruptly, let's say suddenly, if you go for a strike, then what will happen? The situation will get worse, right? If you have something, some demand, if you inform your parents that if you do not fulfill this demand and all, then I'll go for a strike and all. So the parents will have time, your company will have time, management will have time to understand the situation, why they're going for a strike, what I can do, right? So that they do not go for a strike, right? But if you do it suddenly, then they do not have any option. No? So the situation will get worse. The misunderstanding will go even worse if you go for a strike, these things. So it's like mutual understanding and respect, right? All right, you are not fulfilling my demand. I'll go for a strike after 14 days. You have time. You see whether you will fulfill the demand or not. I'm giving you time. I'm giving you, informing you enough before. Then I'll go for a strike, right? So that the code itself says there's a good practice actually. You inform and then go for a strike. Good practice, right? You utilize the dispute resolution machinery once you have any dispute. That's because you avoid the actions disturbing the cordial relationship. For example, you should not tempt anybody. You should not, let's say, influence anybody to destroy the property or something. So that is something which is against cordial relationship. So these are some of the principles, right? So so from management side, what they can do, they can excuse me. They can what they can do. As I have said, like they should not go for any unilateral actions. They should efficiently use the dispute resolution machinery. There should not be any lockout, and they should avoid coercion, victimizations, right? So union and management can do these things. They can mutually agree the grievance procedure that we have discussed, right? There should be cooperation, so and so forth. So if you go within the framework, you can go for a strike, you can do lockout, but staying within the framework, if you do it, then what happens? The probability of getting the situation worse and worse, that would that would decrease. So once I gave the example of Maruti Suzuki, na? So Maruti Suzuki, they failed to do all the things whichever is possible. They could not even work on this preventive machinery. None of the machineries they could utilize, right? They did not abide by the mutual, understanding, mutual agreement, code of discipline. They violated all. Even the union or the employees also, they started, destroying the property, right? So this is not only management fault. Of course, management could have taken proactive decisions. Management has power. Management could have been more and more cautious. But the employees, they started destroying the property, which is unacceptable. The employees started, like we discussed, like they have started beating the managers, which is again unacceptable, right? One manager was beaten to death. HR manager was beaten to death. He was set on fire. So, which is definitely unacceptable. So there was violation from both the sides, from the union side, management side, from the employee side. Everybody violated all the possible things that could have been there. That is why the situation has happened, right? So no respect, nothing towards. It was like, there is a match. It was like a match going on, one team versus another team, which should not be there in organization. You should not treat the other party as your enemy. there should be a coexistence, right? So management can agree that they will not increase the workload without agreement. For example, suddenly I am asking you to do the job, for 9 hours. Tomorrow, if I release a notice that from tomorrow you'll have to work for 12 hours. What is this? That means the management is increasing the workload without agreement or settlement. You should have discussion with the union. You should make union understand that given the situation, you'll have to work harder and harder for the long time. Right? You can do it, but do it properly. Sometimes management do unfavor labor practice. Right? What is unfair? Not unfavor, unfair labor practice. All right, I'm giving you time to write on the chat box what is unfair labor practice. You can search it from internet. What are the possible types of unfair labor practice? Wait, what is it? Unfair labor practice. What are the different types of unfair labor practice that happens? Yes, have I written down? Will I check what is unfair labor practice? Is it done?
So can't understand, sir. Is it an unfair labor practice or something where labors are treated unfairly, or what? Like I read it that discrimination happens, demotion and bargaining in bad faith and all, but I could not understand that. What does it truly mean?
Okay, okay, okay. All right, unfair labor practice means some kind of practices which should not be there, which might be beneficial for the management in short run, but this is actually unethical. For example, Suppose if you are my teammate, you have certain issue with me, or you have certain issue, you are going to management, right? Now I am threatening, giving threat. If you go to management or if you do something, right, then I'll make you out of the company. So what is it I'm doing? Is it ethical?
No,
It's not
sir.
ethical. No. So sometimes what management does, management also might do this thing. Probably this is an employee. He has certain issue. So who represents employees? Union, right? So union is combination of union. So might be the employee wants to join the union and management is saying that if you join union, I'll make you out of the company. I'll kick you out of from the company, which is against his right. As per the law, he can join. It's their right to join. They can form union. They can join union. But what you are fearing, if he joins union, the strength of union will get increased, or you can't do against the employee. So it's better to give them threat. So that is unfair labor practice. You should not support. That is against the ethical practice. Or let's say what you are doing, some management does in this way. So in union, there is a union leader. There is a leader. For example, in class, you have group leader, in your group. So union leader. So union leader is from among the workers or the whosoever are there. So there is a election process. So let's say there is a union leader. So in management, internally, they're trying to make a setting with the union leader that whatever the employees will come to you with the employee, with their problem, don't listen to them. You say everything is fine. Understood? Now, is it a good practice? Is it ethical? This is not ethical.
No, sir.
That is also not ethical. Sometimes management might offer a bribe to the union leader, right? Which is practical, which happens in many organizations, it happens. So what will happen? The union leader will say in favor of the management. So union leader basically they should protect the workers' workers' interest. But if they start speaking in favor of the management, then where the worker will go, right? So that is unfair labor practice. So restricting some employees to join the union or taking action against the employees who has joined union, so and so forth. So that is unfair labor practice. So for a short term, you might think that, all right, I have won. The employee got afraid, got scared. Now the problem is solved. No. For the short term, you might think that. But if it happens with a lot many employees, it will become an issue among them and they will start revolt against you. So there should not be any support for unfair labor practice. Got my point? So
Yes, sir.
these are some of the code of discipline. So discipline related code, right? There should not be any discrepancy action against the there should not be any kind of discrepancy in action. For example, uh, there might be somebody who has done some mistake, right? Who has committed something. So you have given a very mild punishment. But other employee who has done the same kind of intensity, same kind of mistake, you have given him very harsh punishment, right? So there is discrepancy in action. So what will happen? naturally it will become an issue, na? So you yourself is leading the path of industrial dispute. So if you do so, for example, as a teacher, if I, let's say, two of my student has done same mistake, same, let's say, crime, not mistake, in my class, same indiscipline. And if I give somebody some kind of mild, I have given some else, let's say I have rusticated for 1 month, and one student I have just suspended for 1 day. So 1 day versus 1 month. So it's a huge discrimination. So it will become an issue. So in that case, the teacher itself becomes an you know responsible for this, which should not be. So there's the against of code of discipline, right? So you should get take prompt action against grievance settlement. That's why the time frame has been there. That's why within 48 hours, within 3 days. It should not happen that the complaint has come on the table. You are not taking action for 1 month, 2 months. You are just ignoring the complaint. So again, if you ignore the complaint, it will become an issue. So these are some code of discipline. If you can do it, union also can agree on something. No physical duress. You should not harm physically. You have manpower. You have employee strength. Union. So you should demonstrate the your demand peacefully. No rudism should be there. Rowdyism should not be there, right? Uh, right. You should not involve into in any kind of illegal action, right? So and so forth. So both management, union, employees, they should agree, or there should be certain framework what they'll agree. Then there will be very less, no chance of, or very less chance of any dispute, right? Now the next question comes. If all these machinery fails, all these, uh, I mean to say the preventive machineries fail, then what? So then if it has failed, that means dispute is already there. The dispute has taken the biggest safe by then. If all the machineries have failed, preventive machinery, that means you could not prevent the dispute. So dispute has already happened. There is already strike, there is already lockout going on, there is already boycott going on, picketing going on. So a lot of disturbance is there. Now the question, what to do? It should not happen that every, for a perpetual, for long days it's happening. It should not happen. So there should be certain machineries which will address this problem. So what are these machineries? So these machineries basically are conciliation, arbitration, and adjudication. You can take a note of it. So these are very important machinery. Now we are going towards the legal things, right? Now the legal things will enter into the picture. There should be conciliation, there should be arbitration, and there should be adjudication. Getting my point?
Yes, sir.
All right. So before discussing this, let me test your knowledge. You can see. I want input from everybody. What's next? You know, what is the primary objective of Industrial Dispute Act that we are discussing? Industrial Dispute Act 1947. What is the primary objective of Industrial Dispute Act? Who can say which is the correct
Sir,
option?
resolution B.
Would anybody differ from B? Would you like to differ from B? Exactly, correct. Very good. So we have right option is option B. Industrial Dispute Act and strike means the primary objective of industrial dispute is basically resolution of industrial dispute, right? The act has been made so that they can address the industrial dispute. So which of the following is best defines a strike? Who can say? Anybody else?
Sir,
Hmm? Tell me.
the B.
Confirm.
Yes, sir.
Anybody else? Once again, well
That is
done.
B, sir.
It's B. Very good. So, as we discussed, strike is basically a collective refusal to work by the employees. Right? Very good. Which type of strike aims to improving the financial condition? This is again very easy. Who can say first? Let's see.
Sir, economic strike.
Sir.
Yes.
Option B.
Option B.
B, sir.
Right. Well done. Very good, everybody. So it's B. Economic strike. So as I told you, if something is related, the strike is related to wage related issues, salary related issues. So it would be known as economic strike. Very good. A sit down strike involve workers. What?
Sir, C.
Right. Any other? Let's check. It's not A, not B. Confirm. Not D.
Yes, sir, confirm.
Good. So a sit down strike involves workers remaining on the site without working. As we know, in case of sit down strike, they'll present in the workplace, but they will not work. So they're on site without working. Right? Very good. Next, what is the key feature of sympathetic strike? Tell me. What is sympathetic strike known as? The answer itself is hidden in the term sympathetic.
Sir,
That is
B.
C, sir. C. Option C, I think.
C.
Sir, B, sir.
B. What else is there? Let me take other responses. Uh, we have separate kind of strike actually, which is known as hunger strike. Right? People might go for hunger, you know, they might refuse to take food. They might put a camp in front of the company gate and refuse to take food. So the company management will come under pressure. If somebody expires, then it will become a bigger issue. So in that case, they might accept the demand. So that's the hunger strike. You're not taking food. But sympathetic strike is basically when the employees from other organization, other industry, they join your strike, then it is known as sympathetic strike. Right? It's like supporting, sending the support from other industry, right? So that they have a greater power to fulfill their demand. So that is sympathetic strike. So B is the correct option, right? All right. Workers' participation in management. Now we have discussed about workers' participation in management. So according to ILO, that is International Labour Organization, workers' participation covers what? This is a bit tricky, but who can say? Let me check. Who can say?
It is B, sir.
It's B. Any other option? Any other?
Yeah, I think it's B.
Exactly. That's correct. This is B. Basically, as per ILO, see how to answer, how to apparently all the options might, you might think that correct options. But see, termination policy is nothing to do with participation, right? Yes, of course, you can form the policy by participating. Workplace safety concerns and all. Only salary negotiation, this is completely nonsense option. So the most appropriate option that makes sense, that is exchange of information and consultations. So when you are exchanging the informations with your employees and you are suggesting, you are inviting their consultations, that means you are giving them opportunity to take part your management, right? So what is the highest form of workers participation? Who can say? What is the highest form among all these? What is the highest form of participation? Means worker will have power, worker will have
The
much more
collective
in
bargaining.
collective bargaining. All right, let me wait for other responses. Then I'll explain.
It is option B, sir. Co-partnership.
Co-partnership, all right. Any other option? All right, so let me help you out. See, collective bargaining, I'll tell you the right answer later. Collective bargaining, anybody can do. Means union, if you join unions like union, you can do collective bargaining and all, right? It's just like a negotiation, right? Next is joint management council. We have discussed there would be a council where equal representations of workers and all, so kind of committee type. Co-partnership means you might purchase company share or you might become a kind of partner with the company. so that you can understand the company is yours as well. Just a minute, there is a power cut. All right. Next is board representation. So board representation means you have been given the opportunity to represent the board. Board, you understand, means the top authority who makes the decision. For example, board of directors you have, right? So now you tell me what is the right option then?
Sir, A.
Exactly. Then board representation would be the correct option, right? You have been given the top represent the where the exactly the decisions are made. Right. There is a okay. Which form of participation in common is common in Yugoslavia? Yes. All right, you can leave it. All right, this is what is very easy. Informative participation refers to what we discussed. Informative participation refers to what?
Sir, B. Management sharing information with employee.
All right, any other opinion? Anybody else?
B, sir.
Yes, exactly. Correct option. Very good. So B is the proper option, appropriate option over here. Informative participation, that means you're sharing the information, right? You're just informing. You're not asking for any suggestion and all. It's like information for your information. It's like that. All right. So why worker participation in management is not successful in India? What is your opinion? We have discussed. Which would be the appropriate option over here?
Sir,
A,
B.
sir.
Illiteracy among workers.
Exactly. So in most of the cases, mostly in manufacturing cases, uh, where manual workers are working, you'll find that the literacy rate is not that mm, notable. So in that case, literacy among the workers will be the appropriate option in this case, but because there is no other option which can go with this theme, right? Though it is not always the sole factor, and in fact, literacy of the workers is least important factor. So most of the cases, the ego issue is there, worker versus management, this issue is there. Nowadays, illiteracy is very hard to find. This is, but in this context, there is no other appropriate option which is coming with this option. So we do not have any other option to choose. So we'll have to go for this. All right, grievance management. A grievance arises when a grievance arises. What is your opinion?
Unfair treatment in the workspace.
Any other example, any opinion? Anybody else would like
It is B,
to?
sir.
Is V. Very good. So unfair treatment in workplace. Well done, both of you. So a grievance arises when this is something which is useless, satisfied, unchallenged in their task, it's useless again. Overwhelming promotion does not make sense, but unfair treatment in the workplace. Right. What is the first step in the step ladder grievance policy? Just now we discussed. Step ladder grievance policy, we discussed now, right now.
Sir, A.
A, arbitration. Sure. What is the first step first?
It is C, sir. Option C.
Option C, discussion with the immediate supervisor. Anybody else? Exactly. So C is the correct option over here. Right. Why? Because we said now here in, where is that? Yeah. See the step ladder. So I told you to imagine this in a reverse way. So an agreed employee. So whom will go first? So immediate departmental representative. So immediate supervisor, right? So if you have certain issue, you should not go directly. There should be a provision that you'll discuss with your immediate supervisor or immediate boss. So here arbitration comes at last. You see, in case of this voluntary arbitration, that is the last thing we discussed, isn't it? After this, you should not have any other thing. So you'll have to accept the verdict or whatever decision comes. All right. So in this case, discussion with immediate supervisor would be the correct option. The open door policy works best in what? Which organization? Tell me.
It's a small organization.
Option C.
Option C, small organization, correct? Right. Right now we discussed that it is helpful. It might be helpful for a small organization, but fails to understand implement difficult to implement in larger organizations, right? All right. Which of these is an interpersonal cause of grievance? Read the question once again. Which of these
Sir,
is an interpersonal cause of grievance? Yes.
sir, A.
Okay. A. Anybody else?
Option D, sir.
Option D, lack of safety. That is what you were saying. Option D.
No, sir. I want to change. It's option A.
It's option A. Okay. What I am saying, interpersonal. What is the thing that might impact your interpersonal relationship? Does weight disparity is interpersonal? Not really, right? But if you see autocratic leadership style, that is interpersonal cause of grievance. For example, if I am your boss, if I do not give you opportunity to speak, to share your opinion, then will you be satisfied?
No,
It's
sir.
not. So if I become autocratic, means whatever I'll say, that is full and final. You do not have anything to say. If I become autocratic, then I myself, I'm inviting interpersonal conflict. There would be conflict if I do not give my team opportunity to speak against me, or at least share their opinion, not always against, then that would be a cause of grievance after a few days. What is the principle of audi alteram partem we discussed? What is it?
Sir, listening to both parties.
Exactly, very good. Listening to both parties. So you should not give judgment without listening to both the parties. So first thing first, this is the natural rule of judgment. You might be a judge in your family, you might be a judge in your company, you might be a judge in your society, you might be anybody. So whenever you are trying to play the role of a judge, first it is your responsibility to listen to both the parties. Without listening to both the parties, you cannot take decision. It is against the natural rule of justice. Okay, very good. What is the primary aim of code of discipline? Who can say? Primary, I'm saying primary. You might think that few options might be very closer. So again, I'm saying primary.
Option C, sir.
Exactly. Option C is the correct option. Right? To maintain peace and order, because it is a preventive mechanism or settlement mechanism. This code of discipline, who can say?
Sir, preventive.
Very good. Preventive mechanism. It is a preventive mechanism. So the intention of code of discipline is to prevent dispute by maintaining peace and order. All right. This is not okay. Yes, the code of discipline promotes what? No, this is not. All right, let me check. There are few confusions. All right, 19. 19 is something we can do. Uh, Under the union agreement, union must avoid what?
Option B, sir.
Option
Sir,
B.
option C.
Op
Option C.
Option C. Anybody else would like to differ? This is actually option C, because right now we discussed that the unions should not get involved in any kind of, harming anybody physically. You should not beat, do some kind of physical harm, so on and so forth. So in this case, uh, you know, option C would be the correct option. Physically dangerous, right? Okay, why is the code significant? Last one. Why this code of discipline is significant? Who can say? Why is it significant?
Option A, sir.
Option C.
Option C, option A. Okay. Anybody else would like to highlight? Any other option?
Sir, A.
Option A. Okay. Anybody else? See, this code does not increase employee decision making power. This is not nothing to do with this code, right? Option C apparently seems correct, but actually it is not the correct option. Why? It explains it abolishes all the industrial disputes. Can you give guarantee that if you have these rules and regulations, all the industrial dispute will not, any industrial dispute will not be there?
No, sir, we
Nobody
can't
can.
give a guarantee.
Exactly. You can't give guarantee. So it can't abolish all the industrial dispute. It eliminates collective bargaining. There is nothing to do here with the collective bargaining itself. It encourages collective bargaining. It says that you should do collective bargaining, you should have negotiations so that you can understand both the sides. You will negotiate. You are saying, you are, let's say you are my employees, you are saying, sir, the working hours should be reduced. I am saying, no, I have lot many, orders, lot many demands are there in the market. I have less manpower. So you should work at least 10 hours daily, or let's say 9 hours daily. So it's a negotiation. You are saying to reduce, I'm saying I'm trying to make my point of view, I'm trying to make you understand. So it's a negotiation is going on, right? It is encouraged. Peaceful negotiation is good, right? So basically, option A is the correct option. It represents policy for voluntary industrial democracy, right? So that in industry there should be a democracy. There should not be any kind of autocratic, thing. So that's why the code is significant, right? All right, thank you so very much. Today we're running out of time, so I'll not take your time. Okay. So once
Sir,
again, bye bye. Yeah.
sir, will we get this PDF of questions in our LMS?
Do you want it?
Yes, sir. It will be very helpful.
All right. I'll make coordination with the coordinator. I'll coordinate, right? And I'll make sure. Actually, I have got some issue from my end with regard to access the LMS, and I'll try to sort it out, and I'll make sure that it is able, right? All right. Thank you so much once again for your active participation. Bye bye. Take care. Have a great day.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Have a
Thank you.
nice day.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, sir. Have a nice